to Busy People Dog Training. My name is Cecilia Schmidt. This video will be about loose lead walking. So there are a number of ways of training loose lead walking, and you can use these different methods in conjunction with each other. I'll probably break it down and talk about one method per video. So the first method, now this is assuming that you have already introduced your dog to the concept of the clicker and have watched my videos about capturing and shaping behavior. If you have any questions about that, or you may want to review those videos or send me an email. So what we want to do with loose lead walking is, what I like to do is I like to start out with the dog off lead, no leash involved, in a confined space, like this basement. And I like to just start walking around, and whenever the dog happens to get into heel position, I will click and give a treat. Now, let me back up and define what heel position is. So heel position is when the dog is on your left side and their shoulder is lined up with your left leg. Is that good? So that was heel position. So the dog's shoulder is lined up with your left leg. So that's the ideal position we want our dogs to be in when they are walking at our sides. And when we first train this, I like to start out by capturing that position. Now, as we go on to adding the leash and doing loose lead walking, it's not absolutely necessary that the dog be in perfect formal heel position all the time, but it's not a bad idea to start out with capturing that position. It helps in the future for the dog to just get used to being in that precise position. So what we do, we get our treats and clicker ready first. And then we just start walking around. Okay. And whenever the dog happens to get into heel position, we click and give a treat. And at this point, even if the dog is just in heel position for a split second, we click and treat. And I'm just going to wander around. She found something on the floor. And just keep walking. Basically ignore your dog. And when they happen to come up on your left side into heel position, they got to click and treat. So they start to learn that that is a really good place to be. So that's the first step. So once your dog, once you've done that a little bit, your dog will start to be in that position more and more often, because they're associating being there with getting a bunch of clicks and treats. At that point, you can start walking a step or two with your dog in heel position before clicking and treating. So what you would do at that point, and this could happen your first session, or it may take a couple sessions before your dog is consistently by your left side. But once they're walking consistently by your side, just take a step and click and treat. They come to heel, take a step, click and treat. Okay, she's not in heel. Once she comes into heel, I'm going to take a step, one step, click and treat. Going to wander around, comes into heel position, take a step, click, treat. So it's one step at a time. Once your dog is consistently sticking with you for one step, add a second step. So again, just wander around, kind of ignore your dog. If they come on your right side, ignore it. If they're on their left side, couple steps, click, treat. And just wander around. So there, when she came into heel position, again, I went a couple steps and I clicked and treated. And you keep working on this, just wandering around this enclosed area, and clicking and treating your dog for longer and longer periods by your left side. So there we got 5 steps. And sometimes, and as you increase the number of steps your dog stays with you, you also want to throw in some easy repetitions. So if she'll do 5 or 6 steps, I also want to throw in some repetitions where she gets a click and treat after just doing 1 step with me. And that keeps the dog guessing. And it makes things interesting for the dog and not just harder. And as your dog gets better at this, you can throw in more challenging maneuvers. So far I've been doing a lot of circles and spirals. And it's good to start out with that kind of movement. And once your dog is good at that, you can start adding tighter turns. So now I'm adding some tight 90-degree and 180-degree turns. Get it. And when you add more challenging turns, it's a good idea to click when you turn and give the dog the treat right there. So once you're at that point, say your dog is sticking with you for a good 10 steps or so, and your dog will do some tight 90-degree and 180-degree turns. Another thing you can do to make it more challenging is add pace changes, and that is slowing down or speeding up, and clicking and treating your dog for changing their pace to match yours. Let's see if we can demonstrate. So I'm going to try slowing down. Good. Very good. Now I'm going to try speeding up. And she was having trouble with that, so I clicked as soon as she got into heel position. And in this tight space, too, it's hard to do a good fast. That was a good slow, though. When you introduce pace changes, be sure to click and treat as soon as your dog starts to change pace. As soon as you and your dog start to change pace. So when you're going from normal to slow, you want to click and treat in those first couple of slow steps. Same with fast. You want to click and treat in the first couple of steps of the pace change. You did good, Penny. So once you have gotten this far, you can add the leash. And I'm going to pause the video and get the leash out. So I like to, once the dog is walking nicely by my side without a leash, then I like to add the leash. One of the reasons I like to start off leash is because many dogs have the association between the leash and pulling. And to break that association, I like to start out by getting them in the habit of walking nicely by my side with no leash involved, and then bring the leash back into the equation. So this is especially important for if you have a dog that pulls on the leash a lot. When you bring the leash back into the equation, I like to start out with either draping the leash over the dog's back or having them just drag the leash behind them. Draping it over their back is often a good idea because they're less likely to accidentally step on it. So that would look like that. And I'm going to get some treats ready. And then you just start walking around and clicking and treating when they're in heel position. So you kind of start at the beginning again. Whenever they're in heel position, click and treat. It's going to be different now because they have that feeling of the leash. And so they may not be as consistent as they were off leash at first. Get it. Good girl. Good. Good girl. Get it. So once you're getting 10 steps or so with them dragging the leash or the leash on their back, then you can actually hold the leash. Now at this point, especially if your dog is one that pulls a lot, when you start actually holding the leash, if they do pull, drop the leash. We don't want them to get back in the habit of pulling. So that's another reason why we want to continue at this point to practice in an enclosed area. So you can drop the leash safely without them running into an unsafe situation. So at this point you want to hold kind of toward the end of the leash. Not so loose as for them to get tangled or trip in it, but loose enough so they have a lot of slack. And then we start walking around again and clicking and treating whenever they hit heel position. And it's important that that you don't pull on the leash or put any tension on the leash yourself as well. So there, she stopped to eat her treat, and so I just waited for her. I didn't pull the leash. I just waited for her to finish. Again, important, very important not to pull on the leash. Just wait for the dog to come back to heel position and click and treat. If you have a large dog, it is sometimes helpful to hold your left arm against your waist when practicing heeling, especially at first when we are clicking and treating them when they're right next to us. If your arm is down here, this can sometimes get in the way, and you may accidentally knock your dog in the face if you have a large dog. So it's in obedience competitions, you'll often see handlers holding their hand against their waist like this, and that is perfectly acceptable. And then you can also reach your treats very easily as well, holding your hand there. So that is an option that can help if you have a large dog. She's doing very well. Okay, so at this point we're holding the leash. The dog is doing some good heeling, maintaining a loose leash as we walk around for a pretty extended period of time here. So at this point, there's a couple things you can do. One is you can add some distractions. You can practice in a more distracting location like your backyard. You can add distractions to the area you're practicing in, such as maybe another person. But you want to add distractions slowly. If at any point the dog pulls on the leash to go to see the distraction, let go of the leash. We don't want to encourage them to pull on the leash. So if your dog tries to pull on the leash to go see the distraction, visit the person, drop the leash and see if you can get them back by calling them, or if you have a leave it cue, you can use that. But don't use the leash to try to pull them back. So that is one way of teaching heeling / loose lead walking. And I'm going to do a couple more videos showing a couple other methods, which, as I said before, can be used in conjunction with this method to reinforce loose lead walking. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me, and I look forward to seeing you in class. Thank you for watching this video.